What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing my 2023 NFL Round 1 mock draft. This is my first and only edition. I waited until about a week, and yeah, without further ado, let's begin. This draft is taking place in Kansas City. It's going to be a fun draft, and yeah, let me get into it. So, with the number 1 overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting C.J. Stroud, quarterback from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Look, this pick really comes down to two players, C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Me personally, I think C.J. Stroud is a safer and better pick. I think with Bryce Young, there is definitely some, size and NFL size and durability concerns. And I think C.J. Stroud's ability to put the ball in certain places, he can run the ball better than you think, but in college with the Buckeyes, he really didn't have to with that team. He has a tremendous accuracy, and I think he hasn't even scratched the surface yet of what he can do as a dual threat quarterback. With his second overall pick, I have the Houston Texans selecting Bryce Young. Bryce Young, obviously another great talent, quarterback, Alabama. The thing is, 5'10", about 200 pounds. Durability is definitely an issue with him, and I think, yeah, he's definitely a great pick. I think it's the right pick to take him here, but it doesn't mean that it's still not a risk. With the third overall pick of the draft, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Will Anderson Jr., edge rusher out of Alabama. Look, Will Anderson might be the top prospect in this draft. He's a can't-miss kind of a prospect, and it fills the need for the Cardinals. With the fourth overall pick of the draft, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. Will Levis, another guy who's kind of like a developmental quarterback. Not that C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young is, but Will Levis, I think, is not a day one starter for the Colts, but maybe he is if they don't have anyone else. He has a very strong arm, and he can take off and run if he has to, too. With the fifth overall pick, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Tyree Wilson, edge rusher out of Texas Tech, from the Red Raiders. Tyree Wilson is a boomer bust kind of guy. Either he has all the physical intangibles, the size, the speed. He might even be a better pick than Will Anderson would be, but there's a lot of risk in taking him if you can't develop him into a pure, NFL, elite edge rusher. But if they can, it would be a big move, a big pick for the Seahawks because it would fill a need. With the sixth overall pick, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Devon Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. The Lions traded away Jeff Okudah about a week or two ago, and corner was already a need that kind of needed to be filled. He is obviously, I think, in my opinion, the best corner in this draft. With the seventh overall pick of the draft, I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Another guy you can make an argument is the best prospect in the draft, but his off-field issues have definitely kind of hurt his draft stock. If not, I think he could have gone in the top 3, but I do have the Raiders selecting him, and it would fill a big need for the Raiders. With the 8th overall pick of the draft, I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of the former Florida Gator. Anthony Richardson, another, sort of a boomer bust kind of a prospect. This guy may have the best, physical ability we've seen out of a quarterback in a very long time. A bazooka of an arm, but unreal speed, as we saw at the Combine. He is fast, strong arm. He has everything you would need physically with a quarterback, but he didn't make too many starts with the Gators, and there's still a lot of question marks about, is he an NFL quarterback? He's definitely an NFL quarterback, but can he operate at a high level? I don't think he is a day one starter, similar like Will Levis. With the 9th overall pick of the draft, I have the Bears selecting Peter Skoronski, a tackle out of Northwestern. They need offensive line help, and Peter Skoronski is probably the best offensive lineman in this draft, and it's a tackle, which the most important spot, most likely, in my opinion, on the offensive line. With the 10th overall pick of the draft, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Bijan Robinson, a running back from the Longhorns. Look, Bijan Robinson may be a little bit early, but I just think this combination of this Eagles offensive line with a top-tier running back could be so deadly. They haven't really had a top-tier running back a while in the Eagles. Right now, their top running back is Rashad Penny, and I don't think that will do. Bijan Robinson would be a heck of a match with the Eagles. With the 11th overall pick of the draft, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Paris Johnson Jr., tackle from the Buckeyes. The Titans parted ways with Taylor Lewan, their longtime left tackle. They need a replacement. With the 12th overall pick of the draft, I have the Houston Texans selecting Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. This is not the most, deep wide receiver draft class this year, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably the biggest prospect out of all these guys. He's a go up there and go get it kind of receiver. His speed is very limited, but again, that's not his game. It's route running and going up there and go getting the ball. But contrary to wide receivers, with the 13th overall pick of the draft, I have Michael Mayer, the tight end, being drafted by the Jets out of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, this is a very deep tight end class. I could see the Jets, if they take a tight end, taking Dalton Kincaid, but I think Michael Mayer is the safer pick out of Notre Dame, and this would be the missing piece to that offense. With the 14th overall pick of the draft, I have the New England Patriots selecting Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. The Patriots are a team that prides themselves on corners and defensive backs, and they definitely need some. Christian Gonzalez is a can't-miss prospect. With the 15th overall pick of the draft, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Quentin Johnson, wide receiver out of TCU. He was TCU's top weapon this past season when they went to the College Football National Championship, and it would be ironically possibly the first year without Aaron Rodgers, the Packers take a receiver finally in the first round. With the 16th overall pick of the draft, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Brian Branch, safety out of the Crimson Tide. Brian Branch, the best safety in this draft class, maybe the only one who goes in the first round, and it will fill a need for the Washington Commanders. Brian Branch is a hard-hitting but fast safety. With the 17th pick of the draft, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State, cornerback. Obviously, this would be a pretty fun match. Joey Porter Sr., the linebacker, was with the Steelers for a while. Now his son going to the Steelers would be pretty cool. He went to Penn State. A lot of the fans in that area already know what he's all about. It's very possible. I'm 95% sure if he falls to the Steelers will pick him up. But the billion-dollar question is, will he fall to the Steelers? With the 18th overall pick of the draft, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Kalijah Kancey, defensive end out of Pittsburgh. Kalijah Kancey would fill a big hole in the Lions' defensive line and put him next to Aiden Hutchinson. That would be a deadly combo. With the 19th overall pick of the draft, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Deonte Banks, the cornerback out of Maryland. Definitely a position of need for the Bucs, and they will get the speedy corner in Deonte Banks. With the 20th overall pick of the draft, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Osiris Torrance, guard out of Florida. The Seahawks could use a guard. I have them taking one here. It may be a little early, but he would be the best one available at this point, and I think it would be a great pick. With the 21st pick of the draft, I have the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Brian Bresee, defensive tackle out of Clemson. The Chargers have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on the edge. They need, a bigger guy there in the middle of that defensive line, and I think Brian Bresee could be a great fit there. With the 22nd pick of the draft, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State, the cornerback. With the departure of Marcus Peters, Emmanuel Forbes will fill a position of need for the Baltimore Ravens. With the 23rd pick of the draft, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting Hendon Hooker, quarterback out of Tennessee. This would be an interesting pick. Obviously, the Vikings still have Kirk Cousins, but there's been a lot of rumors of them drafting a quarterback. Maybe they trade up if a guy like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson falls. But if they stay where they are, The guy who will be available is Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, was a Heisman candidate for a while during this past college football season, but ultimately he got injured, and that derailed the Longhorns' season and derailed his Heisman chances. And I think if not for that, he could be a top 10 pick in this draft, but the injury definitely hurts his draft capital. But I still have him going in the first round, and I have the Vikings selecting him, and him in that offense after a year or two of sitting behind Cousins could be deadly. With the 24th pick of the draft, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Cam Smith out of South Carolina. This may be a little bit early for Cam Smith, but it's a position of need, and he would be the best corner available still. The Jaguars desperately need some DB help, and Cam Smith, I think, would be the best available left. With the 25th pick of the draft, I have the New York Giants selecting Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa. This would be a complete steal if he falls, but this is how I have the draft playing out, and this would be a great partner in crime for Kayvon Thibodeaux on the Giants' defensive line. With the 26th pick of the draft, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah. Dalton Kincaid, he could easily go even higher than this, but I have him falling to here. And the Cowboys, this would fill probably the only missing link on this offense, and maybe just this whole team in general. They lost Dalton Schultz, who, was a, middle of the pack tight end, but Dalton Kincaid has the potential to be a top 10, top 5 tight end, and the Cowboys getting him would be pretty scary if they can make it click. With the 27th pick of the draft, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. The Bills lost Devin Singletary. They've had a lack of a running game over the last couple of years. I think Jahmyr Gibbs would be a no-brainer pick if he's still here at this point, which I believe he will be. With the 28th pick of the draft, I have the Bengals selecting Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia, the big tight end, if that. Darnell Washington, 6'7". Dude is a mountain of a guy. You can line him up as a receiver, and he'll go up there and go get that ball. Darnell Washington would be a scary addition to this Bengals offense. For the 29th pick of the draft, I had the New Orleans Saints selecting Nolan Smith, edge rusher out of Georgia. Nolan Smith is one of the more interesting prospects in this draft because he did not play a whole lot in Georgia just because of how much talent there was there during his time there. He didn't get to be a full-time starter ever, but seeing him in the combine definitely boosted his his stock to a first-round pick because he ran a 4.39 as a defensive lineman. That's unreal speed, kind of like a Montez Sweat, and I could easily see him going to the Saints here, a team that definitely, they lost some pieces on their defensive line. Cam Jordan is only getting older. I think Nolan Smith could be a great addition for them. With the 30th pick of the draft, I have the Eagles selecting Jack Campbell, linebacker out of Iowa. I think the rationale with Jack Campbell here is, the Eagles need a linebacker and a partner in crime with Nakobe Dean, and Jack Campbell is a hard-hitting linebacker, and I think he could be a great fit with that physical front seven of the Eagles. With the 31st pick of the draft, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of the Tennessee. The Chiefs, even if they don't want to draft a left tackle and want to get a guy to play right tackle, I think they need to draft one in the first round, and Darnell Wright would be a great pick at this point in the draft, and they would fill a position of need over at right tackle. Comment down below what you guys think about this. I don't want this video to be too long. That's why I kind of sped through a lot of the picks, but I'm going to be doing my second round mock draft. It'll be coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But other than that, I will see you guys next time.